Hi there, I'm Scott Monson, Superintendent in the Marshall Public School District. Glad to have the opportunity to film and Tiger Talk TV and talk a little bit about the upcoming school year. And I have a guest with me today, Bruce Remme, our Activities Director. I asked Bruce to come in and talk about a variety of different things taking place in the Marshall Public Schools and maybe provide some updates as to some of the changes that are going on and some of our activities that are available to our students. As you might imagine, school is just around the corner, or maybe by the time you see this, it's in its first few days. And I'll come back after Mr. Remme and I are done visiting and share some of the things that are happening and that have happened as we've been gearing up for the 2015-2016 school year. But to start out, I'd like to welcome Bruce Remme, the Activities Director for the Marshall Public Schools, to Tiger Talk TV. And Bruce, a lot of people out there are already familiar with you, but tell me and tell them a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you're at right now as our Activities Director, if you would.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about Tiger activities. It's certainly something I'm passionate about and always happy to visit with it. I'm beginning my 21st year in Marshall Public Schools. Spent 12 years as a 4th grade teacher. My undergraduate degree is elementary education, and I taught at Westside Elementary for 12 years and had the opportunity to work with a lot of wonderful people while I was there, and certainly enjoyed the years I spent teaching 4th grade. At that same time, or during that same time frame, I also coached a number of different things at the high school level, both in the football program, the girls basketball program, worked with the summer strength and conditioning program, did a lot of those things, and now this year I'm beginning my 9th year as the Activities Director for Marshall Public Schools, and it's been a wonderful opportunity to work with a lot of wonderful people. We feel very fortunate to have some of the best coaches, directors, and advisors in the state at what they do, and it's fun for me to get to go to work every day and work with that kind of a staff.
Absolutely, the people that we get to work with definitely make a difference in terms of how much we enjoy our jobs, and they do an awesome job. So Bruce, somebody new to the Marshall community, or maybe some of our younger parents of our younger children now as they move up into the upper grades at middle school and the high school, what should or what can they know, or what do you want them to know about our activities program and department, and what do we offer to kids in different grades, and certainly maybe give an overview, and then we can talk briefly about just what's available in the fall.
Sure. We feel pretty blessed to be able to offer the kind of depth and breadth of different activities for students to be a part of on an extracurricular basis. I mean, we offer, on the athletic side of things, we offer 20 varsity sports with sub-levels that go with each of those, B squad, C squad, JV, what have you. In addition to that, at the high school level, we also have 14 different fine art or academic clubs that students can be a part of. At the middle school level, we offer 9 different sports and 8 different fine art or academic clubs that students can choose to participate in on an extracurricular basis. So it's certainly vast in the amount of different opportunities that are out there for kids, and again, we feel fortunate to be able to offer that many different things.
How about this fall, Bruce? What are it seems like when school gets started, obviously there are going to be boys and girls all over the place doing a variety of things, but what will our Tiger student athletes and student participants be doing this fall?
In the fall, from an athletic standpoint of things, you're going to see obviously varsity level football, volleyball, soccer, tennis, girls swimming and diving, what am I forgetting? Cross country, boys and girls. Yeah. So on the athletic side of things, you got those things. Also, obviously one of our largest participant activities all year is marching band. and that's a fall activity for us. And some of the other clubs that get started in the fall, Knowledge Bowl at the middle school level gets started in the fall.
Okay.
Math team, both at the high school and the middle school level, will get started in the fall. So those are some of the opportunities that are out there in the fall as kids are coming back to school and we're just ramping up.
You know, and it's really nice, Bruce, and I think a lot of people know this already, but it's really nice to hear that there's a wide list or variety of sports that are available for our students, but yet there's also, you talked about Knowledge Bowl and Math League and Marching Band and you know, those opportunities to grow as students, they aren't available at all schools, and I think we're very, very fortunate when we look at that.
We are, you know, and when we talk about an activities department, it really is all activities. I mean, in addition to those types of things, we also have things in our department like student council and yearbook or annual staff. So those are other opportunities for kids to choose to get involved with things kind of outside of the normal everyday school curriculum. And you know, certainly being involved in whatever it is carries a lot of benefits.
When you talk about benefits, and you know, you and I both come from a coaching background, and obviously the teaching, and participated in a variety of different things in high school and even in college. Why are sports or activities beneficial for students? What do we see? You know, we might know that, but what are some of the ways that the general person in our general resident of Marshall might not be aware of? What's beneficial about it?
You know, there's a lot of national research out there about participation in extracurricular activities and what it does for students. Things like there's a lot of national research that shows students who participate in extracurricular activities carry higher GPAs. And that's something that we've seen even at the local level. We track that at the high school every year, and for a reference, we had over 550 students participate in some sort of an activity last year, and the cumulative average GPA of those students was a 3.23. The average cumulative GPA of students who weren't involved in any activities was a 2.67.
So quite a difference there.
So there is a difference, you know, and I think that's a small sample size, but if you look at national research, it backs the same thing. And there's a lot of research out there that students who have participated in extracurricular activities go on to have higher attendance rates at their schools, graduate with or in a higher percentage of their class, their graduating class, are granted more scholarships at the post-secondary level, academic scholarships as well as other opportunities. So there's a lot of, and you know, those who follow some of the national sports and things, it's always interesting to listen to those athletes and people talk about the things they were involved in as high schoolers, you know, and see that they were involved in multiple things and not just sports, but whether that's music or whether it's speech or whether it's, you know, any of the other kinds of clubs that we're talking about. So there's a lot of research out there, but in addition to that, it's the life skills that can be taught through participation in activities that I think really is beneficial for kids. Things like teamwork or things like leadership, time commitment, time management, self-discipline, you know, prioritization, those kinds of things. Participating in extracurriculars really lends itself to learn those life skills that can be transferred to whatever you do. I mean, no matter what your career choice is or what part of a team you're going to be, whether that's a family unit someday or a member of a business.
Excellent point. There are certain academic benefits that we are able to measure, and we know that the data supports that participants are, like you said, have higher GPAs, come to school more often, I think graduate at a higher rate, and also have fewer discipline referrals. So those are all really beneficial, but then the life skills piece as well. You know, I shared with someone a couple days ago, I had a meeting with Brian Jones, the high school principal, and and the marching band was outside and kind of doing their thing, and they've been doing that for a long time. I realize that, and those kids are dedicated, and the precision and the teamwork and everything that they do is very impressive. So I think we see that throughout our activities department, those benefits. And again, I have the opportunity to visit today with Bruce Remme, the activities director for the Marshall Public Schools. Bruce, how about from a philosophical perspective? I know we have an activities committee, if you will, and you have conversations, I would guess, about what are we trying to accomplish philosophically with all of the activities that we offer to students. And maybe it goes back to some of the things that you just talked about, but where are we at philosophically?
You know, we do talk about that often. We have an activities leadership team that meets on a regular basis, and they've been instrumental in kind of helping us form a mission and a purpose for our activities department. I can share our mission statement. Just says, the mission of Marshall Public Schools activities is to provide students with an opportunity to develop self-discipline, character, responsibility, leadership, and integrity through competitive participation, goal setting, teamwork, sportsmanship, in an atmosphere that encourages healthy life choices and respect. In a nutshell, what that says is we want to use our activities to develop life skills that kids can take with them when they're done participating, no matter what they participate in. And that's something that we really talk with our coaching staff about, is what kind of life skills are you trying to instill in the kids that can help them in whatever career path or whatever life path they choose to take from there. You know, we talk about the different levels of participation and how, as we're getting kids engaged in activities, whether that be a fine art or whether that's an athletic activity, at the middle school and junior high level, the emphasis is maybe more on exposure, introduction, participation. And as you gradually move up in years of experience and the competitiveness maybe starts to take on a larger role as you go. And certainly we've been fortunate to have kids and a community that have been very supportive of that.
Absolutely. Bruce, one of the things that as our enrollment grows in our district, and we believe we'll continue to do so, we're going to have the same opportunities for students, but maybe some new ones. And I won't put you on the spot in the future and say what will it look like in 5 or 10 years. But I think what is important, and parents know this, that there are fees associated with participating in our extra and co-curricular programs. What if a family just doesn't have the financial wherewithal at a certain time to pay a fee, but yet their son or daughter really wants to participate in something? What options are available for them? Because ultimately we need to get those kids involved no matter what we have to do. So what can happen in that type of a situation?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we touched on it earlier. We know the value and the benefit to the student of participating, and that's ultimately what we want. We want to engage as many of our kids as we can in some sort of an extracurricular or co-curricular activity that's going to further connect them to school in the long run. And you know, we're fortunate to have in place the M Club, which is a overriding booster club that kind of oversees all Tiger activities, and they work very hard to raise dollars to help cover scholarship opportunities for kids. So we always talk with the kids whenever we get a chance, and we talk with our coaches, our advisors, and our directors. And the message there is participation fees are never an obstacle to somebody who wants to be a part of something. There are opportunities to help with scholarship dollars, and we can stretch those many different ways, and we've always found donations and funds that have been raised specifically to help cover those things. So there are opportunities there that our public can access if they are interested in getting involved.
Great, and I think that's important to know, because you know, it is expensive not only for the activity fee at times, but also for some of the equipment and travel and things associated with that. So you know, it is important that we let our parents and families know that if you're in a bind, that happens to all of us, there's avenues and options that we can access just don't be afraid to ask a coach or advisor or director or whatever. Bruce, you touched on something just a little while ago, and I'm maybe going to paraphrase a little bit, but you said as kids or students get older, maybe the competitiveness of our philosophy becomes a little bit more important. And paraphrasing, I would say when we get to the varsity level, we want to win all the time, but certainly at the varsity level. And there's also other ways to be successful, touching on many of the things that you've talked about in terms of the skills that kids learn. How does Marshall, for a district with 2,400 students, compete statewide throughout everything, not just sports, but statewide? And I think you can probably even touch on nationwide some of our accomplishments.
Yeah, you know, we are extremely blessed to have had a number of our programs that year in and year out have been able to compete both, you know, locally, regionally, and nationally. One of the measures that we like to keep track of is something called the Minnesota State High School League Challenge Cup.
Sure.
And it's something that the high school league developed probably 10 years ago at least now, if not longer. And it only applies to high school league activities, which we know doesn't cover everything,
Yep.
but it does cover all of our sports. It covers our speech. It covers some of our music programs that we offer. And they have formulas set up that can take how teams perform and how their individuals perform, and they allocate points for where you finish in relation to other teams. Okay. And at the end of the year, it totals all this up and gives you kind of some instant feedback about how you compare to other schools of similar size. They divided the state into 3 classes, and Marshall is placed in the second class, or class AA, for the Challenge Cup.
Okay.
And we've always fared very well using that measure, and by very well I mean among schools in that class, we've consistently finished in the top third statewide of over 150 schools that are in that class.
Okay.
Last year, the 2014-15 year, according to that measure, was actually probably the highest we have ever placed in the state, and Marshall was fortunate to finish as the highest ranked public school in Class AA in the state of Minnesota. And again, that's something we're very proud of, and the students who put in the time and effort to excel at the levels that they do are the ones who really deserve the credit for that, because they made those commitments and they set those goals, and they were able to go out and accomplish some wonderful things. And the leadership that's in place in those programs, our coaches, our advisors, and our directors go the extra mile more often than not to provide our kids a chance. So that's one measure that we look at. Other things like our participation numbers. We have over 75% of our student body participate in something that we offer, some sort of an extracurricular activity. So 3 out of every 4 kids from middle school all the way through high school are engaged in something. And that's something we're continually trying to get better at. You know, how do we continue to find more ways to engage kids?
Absolutely.
We have a speech program that's been nationally recognized by the National Forensics League as being in the top 10% nationwide. Our marching band has went down to the Bands of America competition. Sure. in regional competition in St. Louis, Missouri, and has won that competition, finished second in that competition. So we've consistently had individuals and programs that are able to compete with just about anybody who we've been able to compete against. So Great. We feel good about that.
And we do. I think we have great kids. You touched on already the coaches and advisors and activity directors. And I think it's important to say thank you and commend the parents too. You know, there's late nights, early mornings, practices all over the place, and we have obviously, I think, very committed parents who are willing and interested to do whatever they can to help their children succeed. A lot of partnerships in place here, Bruce. you know, you look at our booster clubs, you look at our partnership and the collaboration we're able to do with SMSU. Any of those you'd like to highlight, touch on, talk about briefly? Because I don't think we could do what we're able to do without all of the efforts from others that may not necessarily be a part of the Marshall Public Schools.
Well, you're right. Marshall has long been known as a collaborative community, and that's one of the things I think that has given us the opportunity to have success in our extracurricular programs. Marshall Community Services is a great partner for us.
Absolutely.
And Community Services provides a lot of the foundation of where kids first get exposed to different activities, whether that's sports or whether it's through Talents Academy and they find a niche in some sort of an academic or a fine art area. Booster clubs are certainly a big part of it. Youth sport organizations are a big part of what we do, and the partnerships that we develop. Those are all players in what we do at the high school level. Certainly the partnerships that we have with SMSU and the people at SMSU have been wonderful to work with. It provides our kids an opportunity to play in some state-of-the-art facilities that maybe they otherwise wouldn't. The athletic department at SMSU, led by their athletic director, Chris Himaleski, has just been wonderful to work with over the years. Their coaching staff has been very receptive to working with our coaching staff, and there's a lot of reciprocation that takes place there. So that's a partnership that we value highly and that we've been able to capitalize on to provide some experiences for kids that otherwise we wouldn't be able to do.
Absolutely.
Partnerships that we have in place just within our own district and between our programs. You know, a lot of our kids are multi-participants, and when I say that, I mean you might have one kid who's in marching band and something else in the fall. Maybe it's a cross-country runner and he's a marching band kid. In the winter, you might have somebody who participates in speech and basketball. And so the collaboration amongst our own staff that has to take place in order to provide kids opportunities that they'd like to pursue is tremendous. And it's the people involved that make that work. And so we feel very fortunate to have all of those partnerships in place.
That's a great point. I hadn't really crossed my mind about how one student could be involved in multiple activities at one time, and the teamwork that needs to take place, not just in their activities, but also in your department and between our staff and everyone. That's a great point to bring up. Bruce, what changes coming about? I mean, it seems like over time, you've been in this a long time and have seen a lot of new things come and go, but what are some of the maybe more visible changes that our fans or participants or general community members might see in the 15-16 school year?
One of the biggest changes this year for 15-16 has to do with football. We'll see that right away this fall. Statewide, the Minnesota State High School League has moved away from conference affiliations in football and has gone to a scheduling plan known as district football.
Okay.
So basically the state was looking for a way to ensure that all schools had an opportunity to get a complete schedule, a full 8-game schedule against Minnesota schools, and against teams of similar size to themselves. And that had become a problem for some schools. Schools needing to travel long distances out of state to find games, or schools needing to play an incomplete schedule, or teams not being able to find competition, or in order to find competition they're jumping conferences or whatever. So the high school league went ahead and implemented district football. So the impact that has on us here locally, you'll see a football schedule that'll have several new opponents on it. It also has some familiar opponents, teams that are in our conference that we're a part of in the Big South for other things are still on our schedule, teams like Fairmont, New Ulm, Waseca, but you also see some new faces there. And so district football is something new statewide. Another big change I think that you'll see this year comes in baseball and softball as we project forward to the spring. Those activities have moved to 4 classes statewide instead of 3. So we'll be placed in a new section there that will look much more like if people are familiar with where we compete in basketball.
Sure.
Against schools like the Mankato's and the Hutchinsons, and those will kind of move more in that direction for baseball and softball as well. So
okay.
Those are some of the new things that I think people will see.
So last year was the first year of the Big South Conference, and if I'm hearing you correctly, we could have been or could be the only ever Big South Conference football champions.
Unless there's another change by the high school league, yeah, I mean that's very much the case.
Well, that's a
trivia question for somebody down the road.
There you go. I don't know if it'll make Trivial Pursuit, but it'll definitely be a good question to ask. And on that note, Bruce, I think it's worth noting that the new Big South Conference that we're coming into the second year of its existence has gone really well, I believe, just based on the feedback that I've heard and all the meetings that I've attended. And I know you and others did a lot of work to really set the foundation to make that happen with all the changes happening. And I think that's another tribute and to others, and in this case, other schools, for making something work along with Marshall. So that's been a real positive thing. Before we wrap up, Bruce, I know we just have a couple minutes left, and again, this is Bruce Remme, the Activities Director for the Marshall Public Schools. Anything else you want to highlight or share with our viewers and touch on before we go?
One other thing I'll maybe throw a teaser out for. You're going to be hearing an announcement very soon about a newly established Tiger Athletic Hall of Fame. We feel something is long overdue to recognize some of the greats we've had come through here.
Yep.
And it's something that the M Club, as a booster organization, talked about and decided to roll up their sleeves and go to work on. And as I say, there will be an announcement coming very soon for the inaugural class of inductees to the Tiger Athletic Hall of Fame. And we're really excited about that, and that'll be an opportunity kind of for our public to reflect and remember and think about maybe some other people or teams or coaches that would be qualified to enter that. So we encourage you to watch for that and be a part of it when it comes out, and think about other people who maybe would be good nominees, and we'd love to have them. But other than that, we're just excited about the year starting. This is always an exciting time. You see all the kids coming back, and they've put in a lot of time and effort over the summer and the off season. And I think sometimes people forget that the high school is a busy place in the summer.
Yeah.
There's students coming through there for multiple different things all summer long, and it's fun to see them now kind of get their feet underneath them and get rolling on their seasons, and we look forward to another successful year of Tiger activities.
Awesome. The Hall of Fame idea is a great one, and definitely look forward to that. So, Bruce, thanks a lot for being here today. Appreciate you sharing some information, not only with me, but with our audience. And just before I wrap up, exciting time in the Marshall Public Schools. Obviously, students will be in the buildings here on August 24th and pretty much every day after that. One of the big changes every year that I always try to emphasize is that there are going to be kids walking to and from school, riding their bikes, skateboards, whatever they have for a mode of transportation. Increased traffic, and kids aren't always attentive like they should be. So I just ask drivers and everyone to pay a little extra attention, especially on the first couple days of school, and help our kids get to and from school safely. We're excited about the 2015-2016 school year, finishing up workshop week this week, and had some really good activities and opportunities to learn from each other and and just really get the needle moving as we transition into 2015-16. If you ever have any questions about anything, feel free to contact me or any of our administrators or school staff. Our phone number here at the district office is 507-537-6924. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.